Hello everyone, welcome to Toaster Concept. Today I want to teach you how to use functions such as count, counter, COUNTIF and COUNTIFs. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. You can as well turn on the bell icon. It will enable you to get notification each time I drop a new video. Without wasting your time, let's begin the process. Thank you. Okay, we are starting with count. Count is a function that only counts numeric item, meaning if the item in the cell is not strictly number, count will not recognize it. Let's just try and see. Equals to count, then let me highlight, bracket close, enter. You can see it gave me only 3. The reason is because the numeric item here are 1, 2, 3. Numeric item, I mean those items that is strictly number, not like alphanumeric. Then let's try the other function, which is counter. The difference between count and counter is that while count only recognize numeric item, counter recognize both numeric and non-numeric items. So let's check. Counter, let me highlight the range, bracket close, enter. So counter counts to both numeric and non-numeric items. That's why I have 15. Here I have just 3 because we have only 3 numbers. This is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. What if we want to count the number of devices that are allocated to a particular vendor? It means we are going to use what is known as COUNTIF. COUNTIF. So let me name this column check. Then the function now is equals to COUNTIF this range. Then I'll specify the first vendor ID and press enter. What this is telling me is that this particular agent have 2 devices. If I populate down, then it's also telling me that this particular this particular vendor have 4 devices. Another thing is that we can also try to arrange in order of frequency. We can simply highlight this way, come to filter and choose custom. Then here I'll change this to check, then highest to lowest or smallest. So this is it. This particular agent have 4 devices. That's 116 have 4 devices. I notice the vendor IDs are not orderly. So let me try to rearrange the vendor ID. Vendor ID. Let's say smallest to highest. Then I can rearrange in order of check. So you can see now that they are now orderly. So now we can see that this particular vendor have 4 devices. Likewise, this vendor as well have 4 devices. So that's how to use COUNTIF to check number of devices allocated to a particular vendor. Let's also try to check if there is duplicate device. Let's also try to check if there is duplicate device. So let's write here device check. So we are going to be using COUNTIF as well. Equals to COUNTIF device colon comma this device. Press enter, populate down. So it's telling us that this very device appeared twice, while this one appeared thrice. So let's just rearrange to be sure. So firstly, I'll try to rearrange by device. Let me use A to Z. Then let me now rearrange by device check. I'll use largest to smallest. So you can see this is XXX399. So this figure is correct, saying that this device appeared 3 times, while this one appeared twice. You can see 328, 328. This one also appeared twice, while this one's only appeared once. This is how to check if there is duplicate device in the system or in your data set. We can as well use if function to check the status of each device in this form. Let's say this is status. I can use a function called if the status is if the device is active, it means the sales will be greater than 0. But if it is inactive, then the sales will be 0. So what I'm going to write is I'll say if the value in this cell is greater than 0, replace it with active, else inactive. When you're writing your text, you need to write it as a string. I mean, you need to enclose it with double quote. So I'll press bracket close and press enter. You can see, so I can populate down. You can see now where the device has no sales, the system is saying inactive. You can see this point, inactive, inactive. But where there is sales or where is greater than 0, it's saying active, active. So that's how to determine the status of devices. Let's try to determine the number of devices that is under a particular vendor in each month. So we can first of all list out the vendor ID. I'm using a function called unique to list them out. Then let me write vendor ID. We want to determine the number of devices under each vendor on a monthly basis. So we have January, February, and March. So for January, we are going to be using a function called COUNTIFS. COUNTIFS is a function that is a bit different from the usual COUNTIF. The reason we are using COUNTIFs is because we are going to be recognizing two different variables. Number one is the agent ID followed by the month. Just look at my screen, the way I'm going to write it. I'll say equals to COUNTIFs, open bracket. The system is requesting for criteria range 1. For vendor ID, this is the column, comma. Then the system is requesting for criteria 1. This is vendor 1. Then the next criteria or variable we want to look at is the month. Where can I find the month? I can find it here, the first column, that's column A, comma. Then it's requesting for criteria 2. Criteria 2 is this month. Then, okay, let me just close bracket first. So it means for this vendor in the month of January, he only had one device. I want to drag down now. If I drag down, okay, let me double click again. You can see that my cursor is pointing at this very cell for as the month. So the point is that if I drag down now, you can see it's giving me 00 all through. The reason is because I didn't lock the month reference. For instance, look at the formula, it's pointing at this month. So if I double click here, you can see instead of pointing at January, it's pointing at the wrong place. So the point is that I was supposed to lock this month. This month is I1. So this is I1. I'll be pressing F4 on my keyboard. So the moment I press F4, the system will automatically wrap $sign around it. So this is it. So the point now is that there are instances whereby when you press F4, the $sign may not come up. In a situation like that, just check the bottom left of your keyboard. Then you see FN key, FN at the bottom left of your keyboard. Press FN key together with your F4. You will see that the $sign will come up. Alternatively, you can choose to type the $sign manually, but it's not advisable. It's better you learn the standard way of doing it. So once I press enter, then I can populate now. Oh, sorry. Let me just drag down gently. No, let me drag down. So they actually add just one device in the month of January. So let's check for February. Let me just copy this formula and paste it here. You can see the way I copy the formula. I copied from the bar here. So this one I need to change from I1 to J1. So let me just change this to J1. J1 and press enter. You can see this vendor had 2 devices in the month of February. So this one had none, this one had 2. and this one had 1. So let's also check for the month of March. Let me paste the same formula here. Then I will change the month. March is K. So I'll change I to K and press enter. Let me just align. So once I copy it down, so it means for the month of March, this agent had 2, this one had 1 for the month of March. So how to know if your calculations are correct? You need to also take the total now. So and try to sum everything up, sum up this way. Let me drag down. So let's just check the total. I'm using auto sum here. That's 15. So let me highlight the devices and see how many. You can see we have 15 devices, meaning our calculation. If you check the bottom of my system, you'll see that we have 15. You can see 15 devices. So it means this total is correct. Let me quickly show you another thing we can use counter for. Counter. So let me create a space, sorry, an empty column here. If you look at the data set very well, you notice there is no serial number. So we can use, let's say this is serial number. Then we can use, ordinarily, if I use a function called counter, which I told you at the beginning, and I try to count these entries, I'll get 15. Meaning if I use this function called sequence and write 15, the system will automatically give me serial number of 1 to 15 this way. The point now is that if I have new entry, it will not update. The serial will not update. So since counter, since if we use counter here, it's going to give us the total number of entries here. We can then we can write this function this way. Let me first of all delete. We can rewrite this way, sequence. Instead of writing 15, we can write counter inside and specify whether the month, the vendor ID, or the device. Maybe we should use device. Then I want to change this system to maybe 500, for instance. Meaning counter will automatically count the number of items in the column based on this range D2 to D500. So once I press enter and press enter, it will give me 1 to 15. So what if I had one more device, like maybe SS21? It will automatically give me number 16. If I delete it, it will go back to 15. So this is another way to use counter. The point is just that if you don't have Microsoft 2021 upward, you may not have this function called sequence. Also, you may not have this function called unique. So if you have minimum of one Microsoft 2021, then you'll be able to use this function called unique and sequence. So let's stop here for now. So we've been able to look at how to find duplicate, how to count vendor ID, how to use if to check the status of each devices. Then we've been able to also use COUNTIFs, COUNTIFs in the case of two variables such as vendor ID and month. Then to determine the number of devices. Then when you are doing something like this, you need to also run your total, because at the end, the total value you get here must agree with the total number of devices you have here. So let's stop here. Thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. You can send me a direct message or leave a comment on anything at all you want me to work on. Also make inquiry. You are free. You can as well turn on your notification so that you can get alert anytime I drop a new video. Bye for now.